Good afternoon. We appreciate your efforts in waiting patiently for the session. Let's begin now.
Good afternoon, all. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the session on Dynamic Startup Ecosystem Nurturing Innovation at the Tamil Nadu Global Investors Meet 2024. To understand what's available and to envisage what has to be done needs a huge amount of intellectual conversations and a deeper amount of brainstorming. This is a great opportunity to have intellectual minds as our eminent speakers to the session to dive deep into the nurturing innovation. Let's take Tamil Nadu to new heights in the global startup scene. Without further ado, please join us in welcoming our first keynote speaker. It's a privilege to welcome Mr. Suresh Sambandam sir, the co-founder and CEO of KissFlow. He is a first-generation self-made entrepreneur who's passionate about technology and about mentoring other aspiring entrepreneurs. He has 3 US patents to his credits and is featured in 4 books. But entrepreneurial success couldn't satisfy him, and he co-founded SaaS Boomi and founded Dream Tamil Nadu, a policy think tank that aims at making Tamil Nadu a $1 trillion economy. Please join us on the stage, sir. The stage is yours, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Coffee la kudichittingala? Illaya? So, it's wonderful to be here. Anybody can't follow Tamil here? Most of us, right? Mostly I'll try to talk in mixed language, so pardon me for that. So what I want to do today is we're talking about building a dynamic and innovation-driven ecosystem in Tamil Nadu. Sometimes innovation can be right behind your backyards, but sometimes we search it elsewhere, right? சில சமயத்தில் நம்ம வீட்டுக்கு பின்னாடி நம்மளால அது பண்ண முடியும், பட் வெளியில் எங்கேயோ தேடிக்கிட்டு இருப்போம் innovation சொல்லிட்டு. But before I go into that topic, I just thought I'll set some context for where we are and what is Tamil Nadu, where does Tamil Nadu stand. Can you switch my slides if you don't mind? So, if you really look at any ecosystem or any society, any country, any state, I think we need some framework to look at that, right? So, to me, that framework is centered around these 5 principles. Of course, one is economy, the second one is health, education, infrastructure, and the integrating philosophy of whether citizens are happy in this whole concept, right? இல்லைன்னா என்ன ஆகும்னா கண்ணை விற்று சித்திரம் வாங்குற மாதிரி ஆயிரும். If at the end of it, if you don't achieve number 5, there's no point in any of the rest of the 4, right? So when I started this $1 trillion vision back in 2019, right? Tamil Nadu was at $280 billion GDP, 260, 270, and then 280. Now we are close to $350 billion GDP in the last few years, and that itself is a huge progress we have made. And a lot of times we think Tamil Nadu is like not a very industrialized state, but Tamil Nadu is the #1 industrialized state in the entire country. We have the largest number of factories in the country. We have 38,000 factories. நமக்கு அடுத்து இருக்கிறது மகாராஷ்டிரா 28,000. நமக்கும் அவங்களுக்கு இருக்கிற டிஃபரன்ஸே கிட்டத்தட்ட 10,000 factories actually. So we are far ahead in terms of industrial development and infrastructure. Just to put you some numbers, in terms of leather exports, entire country oda leather export we do 43%. In terms of auto and auto parts, we do 33% of the entire country's exports. Electronics we do 31%. Textiles we do 19%. Machinery we do 15%. When I say machinery, we're talking about heavy equipments. So it is not just like GDP numbers. It is a well-rounded economic infrastructure, industrial infrastructure Tamil Nadu has. I don't think many of us actually know that. So I think I've been talking about it many times, but I think it makes sense to reiterate again. And something that you may not know, Tamil Nadu has become the #1 country in export promotion index. It has beaten other states. I think Gujarat is in 4th position now. Tamil Nadu has gone to the 1st position. It's a very, very significant progress. In terms of education, the best way to measure is using GER, gross enrollment ratio. அது என்னன்னா எத்தனை பேர் காலேஜ் முடிச்சுட்டு ஸ்கூல் முடிச்சுட்டு காலேஜ் போகிறாங்க அப்படிங்கிற அந்த நம்பர். இட்ஸ் நாட் லைக் லிட்ரஸி ரேட் வேர் கேரளா ஆக்சுவலி ஸ்கோர்ஸ் பெட்டர் தென் எனி அதர் ஸ்டேட். பட் gross enrollment ratio is a better way to look at the progress of Tamil Nadu, right? Tamil Nadu is at 47. America's gross enrollment ratio for 4-year programs, because they don't have a 3-year program. Only in India we have 3-year and 4-year program. So if you have to compare apples and apples, so the closest that we can get it to that, and that is at 43%, and Tamil Nadu is at 47% actually. So we are even, sometimes people say, yes sir, Tamil Nadu போயிட்டு நீங்க உத்தரப்பிரதேஷ், பீகார், குஜராத்தோடலாம் கம்பேர் பண்ணுறீங்க, அமெரிக்காவோட கம்பேர் பண்ணுங்கன்னா, அமெரிக்காவோட கம்பேர் பண்ணிங்கனாலும் 47-43%, we are 47%, right? So, we are doing, India's average is 27 and Tamil Nadu is at 47, roughly double of India's average. What do you think, why do you think Tamil Nadu is at double the India's average? So, number of graduates who go, so number of people who leave the school and join college. Gross enrollment ratio into higher education. Less dropouts in higher education. Sorry, high school, basically. Yeah, secondary school. Yeah. So that's because 50% of population is women, and only in Tamil Nadu the gross enrollment ratio for men, boys and girls are exactly the same number. In fact, you guys are not clapping. Because this claps is not for me, but it's for ourselves, our own state, right? See, the thing is, in 2 years from now, women gross enrollment ratio first time is going to exceed the men gross enrollment ratio in Tamil Nadu, right? So that has not happened anywhere, not even in developed countries. Forget about India, I'm talking about developed countries. So I think we are in a very, very unique state. I think we all should be proud about it, right? So again, healthல, ஸோ இந்த தமிழில் சொல்லுவாங்கள்ல, ஒரு பானை சோற்றுக்கு ஒரு சோறு பதம் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒவ்வொரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட்லையும், like if you take health, you just have to measure 1 or 2 metrics. The key metric that you have to measure is IMR, infant mortality rate. If you look at infant mortality rate, Indiaவோட average எடுத்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, தமிழ்நாடோட average is 50% better than the Indian average, right? And also we know we have every 4 people we have, every 250 people we have 1 doctor. World Health Organization oda number vandu for every 1,000 people 1. We are 4 times better than international standards. Okay, that's the kind of health infrastructure we have. In terms of birth rate, Tamil Nadu is the only state which has a declining population, and because we have implemented what is called family planning program very, very well, because we are also an educated mass. It all reflects, all these points integrates into one another, right? So that's why all of these are very connected data. And finally, how do we measure citizen happiness? One of the easiest way to measure citizen happiness is distribution of household income, right? So simply speaking, I picked Bihar, but not to put down any state. See, my own philosophy is I'm Tamilian as well as an Indian, right? But I just put Bihar as just to give you a comparison. You can see the lowest number is basically the poor people. The highest is basically the rich people. And you can see 2 big towers in the middle that represents the middle class. America is a rich country not because there are a lot of rich people. America is a rich country because there are a lot of middle class people. So any economy that has a highest number of middle class becomes the most advanced and educated and rich economy. So and that Tamil Nadu is on a way towards that. So நாம வந்து இந்தியாவுக்குள்ளார ஒரு குட்டி துபாய் மாதிரி, இந்தியாவுக்குள்ளார ஒரு குட்டி சிங்கப்பூர் மாதிரி ஆக்சுவலாக. ஸோ வி ஆல் ஷுட் பி ப்ரௌட் அபவுட் தட். ஓகே, ஸோ இன்ஃபேக்ட் ஆஃப் இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் எடுத்துட்டிங்கன்னா இதெல்லாம் ஜென்ரலாக சொல்ல வந்தேன். கம்யூனிகேஷன், we have the highest in the country in terms of communication penetration, in terms of TV, newspaper. TV வந்து 98% penetration we have, 98%. And cell phones, you'll be surprised, telephones, we have 104 telephones per 100 people, because some of us have 2 SIM cards, right? So we have 104 for every 100 people. So that's the kind of infrastructure that we have. In terms of broadband penetration, we are the highest broadband penetration in the country. In terms of power, we are number 2 in the overall renewable energy, whether it is wind energy and renewable energy. In terms of solar, we are number 3 in the whole country. In terms of infrastructure for economic zones, there are 50 economic zones in Tamil Nadu, only Gujarat has 20. So we have like 2.5 times more economic zones in the whole, in compared to Gujarat, for example. We have the largest number of installed ATMs in the whole country. Do you know that? If you have to have so much ATMs, what does it mean? That means economy, directly translate into economy. We have what, 6 or 7 airports, 4 international, 2 domestic. We have the highest concentration of airports. We have largest number of seaports in the country. 4 big seaports and 16 or so small seaports. So, meaning I can keep on talking about it. I think the fundamental idea which I wanted to get out here is that why Tamil Nadu is such a star is because we follow a unique model of development which we call the Dravidian model. The model is, thank you. The model is something that balance, a lot of people may be wondering, what is this Dravidian model? The Dravidian model is nothing but the model that balances economic index, economic growth and the social growth together. So you can roughly translate into, in the y-axis, it's like a capitalism. X-axis, you can think about it like socialism or communism, right? But either of this model is like a broken model. What we really need is a balanced model. What Tamil Nadu has done is, we have to take a social view on a particular topic, we have always taken a social view. We have to take a capitalistic view on a particular topic, we have always taken a capitalistic view. And that is actually the Dravidian model of the state. And that's why we are right up there on the north side of the quadrant, right? So that's so proud to be there. So with that background, I wanted to tell, if you have to really achieve the $1 trillion economy, we have to build this. This is where the topic is taking root, right? You have to build a dynamic, innovation-driven ecosystem. Which means we have to build brands, but we can't just build anything else. What do you mean by brands? Brands are those things that capture IP, intellectual property for you. Right? Brands own the IP. For example, all of us wear inner garments. Two brands like Jockey and Hanes dominate the innerwear market. In the rendu company, they make 50,000 crores revenue. Rendu company, 50,000 crore revenue. But we make those inner garments in Tirupur and Coimbatore and Hosur. And we get ஒரு ஜட்டி வித்தானா 300 ரூபாய்னா அதுல 30 ரூபாய் கூட நமக்கு கிடைக்காது. அந்த 30 ரூபாயில 3 ரூபாய் தான் நமக்கு ப்ராஃபிட் கிடைக்கும். Because stitching cost and then profit how much you make is only 3 rupees out of the 30 rupees, right? But because we are just a service provider, but we are not the brand owner. So he captures all the 50,000 crores top line. We capture nothing. So which means unless we build brands, these are like, we have 150 brands in Tamil Nadu today. And these are all mostly regional brands and some are national brands like Kevin Care. And very few are global brands. The global brands are mostly in the software space and that too in the B2B space, like which are not popularly known. Like for example, Freshdesk or Zoho or even my company Kissflow, we are in like 100 plus countries globally. But it's not like common man doesn't know these brands, right? It's all tech brands and they're all B2B brands. But we need to build really big brands like Pepsi, like all those, like Michelin tires. We have MRF in India, in Chennai, but it is still a sort of an Asian brand, right? We have not built it like a global brand. So we need to do things like that. So how can we do that? We started thinking about building that inclusive and dynamic innovation-driven ecosystem. And how do we do this without even affecting the environment? And how can we do it from things that are waste products? The first thing I wanted to tell you is, in Krishnagiri, the largest mango producing district. So we started writing ideas about how we can do it, not just dynamic and innovation, but also inclusive. So if you look at Krishnagiri, they make the largest, produces the largest mango. And then after extracting the pulp, you throw away all the mango over the skin, tol. What we can make is a leather product out of this mango skin, which is a waste product. And this can be vegan leather, and vegan leathers are 10 times more costlier and expensive than a normal leather. But you cannot position it on the roadside, right? It has to be in the ranges of Louis Vuitton. So we have to think bigger, think very differently, right? So that is where we need to go. For example, I want to skip this. Kadalur is my district. We have cashew nut. But after getting the nut, we throw away the fruit. But we can make fenny liquor. Of course, alcohol is a very controversial topic in Tamil Nadu. So what we recommended was, we export the alcohol completely, right? Don't sell anything we make it like a tequila. like a very high quality, like each bottle costs 4,000, 5,000 rupees, don't sell it in Tamil Nadu, you export every piece of it, right? Because it is quite possible to do that, right? It's not, but this is not a distant reality. And by the way, I'm actually talking to the Sitco folks and see, they are practically trying to see how to make this happen, okay, to export this whole thing. Like, again, in Kadalur, we have jackfruit. இப்போ ஒரு ட்ராபிக்கான எடுத்துட்டிங்கன்னா அதில் எல்லா விதமான ஃப்ளேவர் இருக்குது. ஜாக் ஃப்ரூட்டில் there is no juice, right? And if you go to Toppur to Hosur, there is a huge highway. We can make electricity using the highway turbine. It's a wasted place, right? Again, if you look at Dharmaburi, lots of tomato goes waste during production. We can make sun-dried tomatoes. And if you take Tirunelveli, because of the cloud computing wave, we need huge number of data centers. And the data centers, for example, big companies like Google, Amazon are mandated to make data centers green, right? And green energy based data centers are mandatory now. And each data center costs $1 billion to invest. But these data centers can be set up in Tamil Nadu, especially in Tirunelveli, the Kanyakumari, that area, because they have atomic energy which is green, and then they have wind energy which is green. And they are also closest to the optic fiber network that connects India to the world internet hubs through the Singapore network. We are the closest actually in the rest of the place. So we have lots of advantages like this. For example, Tirunelveli, Chennai, we have auto manufacturing facility, but we have a huge cluster of auto parts. But there is so much turbines that are running up in Tirunelveli. We don't have a turbine parts manufacturing facilities or an infrastructure that is available in Tirunelveli. We don't have, and there is a huge opportunity to be done, right? Again, in Tirunelveli, you do not know all the cookers that you get at home are manufactured in Tirunelveli, that area, that cluster. There is a cooker cluster that is there. But the cooker cluster is very old school, right? They have to be like smart cookware. They have to be digital. They have to be smart. They have to be IoT enabled. They have to be interconnected so that you can push a button on your smartphone and it starts cooking when you leave your office and it's ready when you get home, right? So that kind of innovation and dynamism is what is required. How many of you did know after groundnut, the waste in the groundnut has 6 to 7% hydrogen? Did you know that? And the waste is thrown away, and you can extract the hydrogen. There is a pyrolysis. There's a process called pyrolysis which can be used to extract hydrogen from the waste shell of groundnut, and that can be converted into energy and electricity. And more than few megawatts of electricity can be manufactured from that waste. So again, we are looking at all the things that doesn't also affect environment. When you are coming up with all these ideas, most of these ideas are generated from waste products that are thrown away from in regular use. Again, biobriquettes from biomass. We produce, we are one of, see, all said and done, there is a lot of agricultural output that comes out of Tamil Nadu. From agricultural output, we get a lot of biomass, which goes mostly waste. And the biomass can be converted into briquettes like this. It becomes heavily energy dense material which can be used for thermal energy, right? Again, another biomass that can be converted into packaging industry. After drinking, see, coffee கொட்டை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அதுக்கு மேலே ஒரு பழம் இருக்கும். கொட்டை எடுத்துட்டு அந்த பழத்தை தூக்கி போட்டுருவோம். But that's called cascara. The cascara can be converted into a herbal tea. And it's a premium. It's not, you cannot sell it at cheap price. So you have to sell it at a very premium price, right? So again, ragi. When you grow ragi அறுவடை பண்ணிட்டு மீதி இருக்கிற அந்த சக்கை இருக்கு இல்லையா, அதுலேருந்து we can make what is called as geotextiles. It has been mandated in few states to use geotextiles for road laying infrastructure in highways. Already it's been mandated. It's being used. But the demand is so high, the production is so less. And we can do a lot of stuff in geotextiles. How many of you know from ஆமணக்கு எண்ணெய், castor oil, we can make a biopolyester material, right? It is quite possible to do that. From banana fiber, see, we are one of the largest banana producing state. But after banana is harvested, what do we do with the waste? We just throw it away, right? But that can be translated into banana fiber paper. Again, after harvesting coconut, the shell, நாம் என்ன பண்ணுறோம், ஷெல் எடுத்து மேக்ஸிமம் அதில் அரைச்சி மாவெல்லாம் பண்ணி கொசுவத்தி சுருள் பண்ணிடுறோம் இல்லையா? What can be, so because that is a very incremental value addition that we do. What you can typically do is, the கொட்டாங்குச்சியில் இருக்கிற அந்த carbon has highly activated carbon. And that can be converted into this kind of a cartridge that can go into water filter, purification filter mechanisms. And suddenly, 5 பைசா 10 பைசா இருக்கக்கூடிய கொட்டாங்குச்சி பவுடருக்கு வந்து you can make 200 rupees 300 rupees value. That's a kind of transformational thinking and dynamic innovation that we are really talking about. Again, in Kanyakumari we make a lot of rubber, but we don't have a mattress manufacturing facility that we can build there, right? Again, Namakkalla we make a lot of eggs, but where is the mayonnaise? Why are we buying mayonnaise? Why are we importing mayonnaise? Right? Doesn't make sense. மொலாசஸ்ல இருந்து சரக்கு எடுக்கலாம், மீனிங் ஆல்கஹால் எடுக்கலாம்னு எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும் இல்லையா? பட் மொலாசஸ்ல இருந்து அந்த மீதி இருக்கிற மொலாசஸ் சரக்கு எடுத்துறாங்க இல்லையா? சரக்கு எடுத்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் வேஸ்ட் இருக்கும், கால் ஸ்லட்ஜ். அந்த ஸ்லட்ஜ்ல இருந்து யூ கேன் ஆக்சுவலி டேக் திஸ் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் அ ப்ராடக்ட் which can become a biofuel into your regular fuel mechanism. So that's possible. Again, Ariyalur is very close to my district as well, next to Kadalur district. அங்கே வந்து limestone இருக்கு, but we don't have a glass manufacturing infrastructure. I think there is Saint Gobain as something very basic there, I think, but we can put a huge glass manufacturing facility right there. We have the raw materials for it. Again, if you think about பட்டு புடவை, எல்லாரும் காஞ்சிபுரம் தான் ஞாபகம் வரும். ஆனால் how many of you know there is no manufacturing happening in Kanchipuram? Kanchipuram has actually become a distribution center. All the silk sarees are made in Arani. ஆரணி பட்டு தான் நீங்கள் காஞ்சிபுரம் பட்டுன்னு போட்டுட்டு இருக்கீங்க, ஓகேவா? பட் ஆரணியில் why should we have IT alone have parks? Why can't silk manufacturers have parks like tech parks? Why can't they have that, right? And that kind of infrastructure is possible. When I first wrote about it, there is one guy who read this article and apparently he was trying to do that for 15 years and trying to talk to the government, and he was like amazed like how accurately we have written what they should be done. And of course, actually government has already announced in the last budget to build a park in Arani already. So I think that's also going to happen. So again, from lemon we can make citric acid. We don't have that. திருவாரூர் டிஆர்பி ராஜாவோட ஊர், அவர் எப்போ தான் கேட்டிருப்பாரு, நீங்கள் திருவாரூரை பற்றி எப்போ எழுத போகிறீங்க சுரேஷ்னு. எழுதும்போது ஃபஸ்ட்டு இதுதான் எழுதணும். திருவாரூரில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஃபுல்லாக நெல். ஆஃப்டர் தட் when you harvest that, you get all the waste, paddy husk, and the vacuole. Vacuole இருந்து you can make what is called as straw board. There is a specific machinery that we can import, and this is a very, very easy thing to do. And it will compress the vacuole and make a board, plywood. And if you put மேலே லேமினேஷன் போட்டிங்கன்னா, இந்த லேமினேஷன் கீழே plywood இருந்தால் உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் கண்டே பிடிக்க முடியாது. It is as good as regular laminated wood for you, right? So and there is tons and tons of vacuole available in Tamil Nadu, and we can make a huge business out of it. Again, if you go to Ramanathapuram, there is a special type of chili that is available, right? And the chili க்கு வந்து it has ஒரு காரத்தன்மை இருக்கும். But if you go buy pizza, கூடவே வந்து உங்களுக்கு ஒரு சின்னதா ஒரு chili tabasco sauce ஒன்று தருவாங்க, தெரியுமா உங்களுக்கு? சின்ன பென்சில் மாதிரி இருக்கும், அது வந்து 200 ரூபாய் 150 ரூபாய்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. பட் நாம என்ன பண்றோம், மிளகாத்தூளா அரைச்சி வித்துட்டு இருக்கோம். But they know that company makes 12,000 crores revenue. Tabasco sauce, the manufacturer of Tabasco sauce, they make 12,000 crore revenue, and we can do the same thing in Ramanathapuram, right? So, and finally, from the paddy husk, you can make toys for kids. So what I wanted to, this is from some other slide. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you is there are so many ideas that are available right in Tamil Nadu, right in the same place, in your own districts, in your own hometowns. You can actually make a difference, and you can actually take some of these ideas and convert this into a great business. And in Startup TN, the MSME department, all the departments, including myself, we are all here to help you. The government is funding, like seed fund is there. They give you 10 lakhs to start with, to motivate you. There are so many benefits that are available to translate all of these ideas into reality. And if you have any questions, you can also WhatsApp me. I'm happy to help you. We run a program to help some of these ideas translate into realities as well. Thank you very much.
That was only the beginning. Get ready for an engaging fireside chat featuring two remarkable voices. Mr. Srinath Ravichandran, co-founder and CEO of Agnikul, a Wall Street trader turned into space tech engineer. And Mr. K. Mohan, co-founder and CEO of Ipopay, a role model from Tier 3 city who laid his successful footprints in fintech sector. Please join us on the stage, sirs. I invite Mr. Srinath Ravichandran and Mr. Mohan to the stage. Mr. Mohan, co-founder and CEO of Ipope, a role model from Tier 3 city who laid his successful footprints in fintech sector. We would like to invite Mr. Mohan to the stage.
ஸ்ரீநாத் ஸோ இந்த ஒரு ரொம்ப டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டான ஒரு காம்பினேஷன். ஏன்னா அதர் சைடு இருக்கிறவர் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சு சென்னையிலே ஒன் ஆஃப் த இன்டெலிஜென்ட் பர்சன் ஹூ பில்ட் ராக்கெட் ஸ்பேஸ் எக்ஸ். இந்த சைடு இருக்கிற எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சு சென்னையில் ஒன் ஆஃப் த டம்பஸ்ட் பர்சன் செல்லிங் ஏ கியூஆர் கோட் புட்டிங் பெனட்ரேட்டிங் ஸ்ட்ரீட் வெண்டாஸ். ஓகேங்களா, இந்த காம்பினேஷனே ரொம்ப சூப்பராக இருக்குது. ஸ்ரீநாத் ஃபஸ்ட் டைம் வந்து அக்னிகுல் அந்த பேர் அது கேட்டோடனே வந்துட்டு என்ன ஃபீல் வந்துச்சு அப்படின்னா இந்தியா அதாவது லைக் ஸ்பேஸ் எக்ஸ், இந்தியாவோட ஸ்பேஸ் எக்ஸ் அப்படி தான் எங்களுக்கு வந்து ஃபீல் ஆச்சு. பட் இன்னும் எங்களுக்கு கொஞ்சம் பெட்டர் கிளாரிட்டி வேணும். ஸோ அக்னிகுல் என்ன பண்ணுறீங்க, அதோட விஷன் என்ன?
ஷியோர். எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம், குட் ஈவினிங். நான் கொஞ்சம் மிக்ஸ் பண்ணி பேசுகிறேன் இங்கிலீஷ் அண்ட் தமிழ். ஐ திங்க் சம் ஆஃப் யூ டோன்ட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் தமிழ் ஃபுல்லி, ஸோ கொஞ்சம் மிக்ஸ் பண்ணி பேசுகிறேன். ஆப்வியஸ்லி மோர் கம்ஃபர்டபுள் இன் தமிழ், பட் ஜஸ்ட் டு கீப் எவ்ரி ஒன் என்கேஜ்ட். ஸோ அவர் நிறைய அவரை பற்றி கொஞ்சம் புகழ்ந்து என்னை பற்றி ரொம்ப புகழ்ந்து பேசிட்டாரு. ஐ திங்க் டம்பஸ்ட் இன்டெலிஜென்ட்லாம் ஓட வெரி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் செக்டர்ஸ் இல்லைங்களா. ஹீ இஸ் இன் அ கம்ப்ளீட்லி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் செக்டர், ஐம் இன் அ கம்ப்ளீட்லி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் செக்டர். ஐ திங்க் நிறைய பேர் இந்தியா ஸ்பேஸ் எக்ஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறதோட நம்ம இஸ்ரோ லெவலில் இன்னும் நிறைய பண்ணியிருக்கோம். இஸ்ரோ இட் செல்ஃப் ஹஸ் டன் அ லாட் ஆஃப் திங்ஸ். ஸோ ஐ திங்க் அவங்க தான் இன்னும் பிகர் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன், க்ளோசர் டு ஹார்ட் ஆக்சுவலி. So we build, just ஒரு introduction for ourselves, we build small rockets, சின்ன ராக்கெட் that take small satellites to space on demand. யாராவது ஸ்பேஸுக்கு போகணுன்னா they should be able to quickly go to space. அதுதான் நாங்கள் பண்ணுற மெயினான ப்ராடக்ட். ஸோ அதுக்கு சென்னையோட ஐ டோன்ட் திங்க் there's a better place to do it. முதல்ல ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது if you had asked me if Chennai is a correct place, ஆனால் obviously I would have, in fact lot of people told it's not the right place. ஃபஸ்ட்டு ஏன் இந்தியா வந்தீங்க? I used to be outside. ஏன் இந்தியா வந்தீங்க? why did you come to Chennai of that? பெங்களூர் போயிருக்கலாமே. lot of these questions were there, but I think in hindsight இன்றைக்கி வந்து யோசிச்சு பார்த்தா it was a very clear answer to go to Chennai நினைக்கிறேன். அதை பற்றி பேசுவோம், we'll talk about that more. பட் அது நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணது முன்னாடி உங்களை பற்றி இந்த இப்போ கூட வந்து ஐ திங்க் எவ்ரி டைம் நான் வீட்லேயும் சொல்கிறது தான், இந்த ஜிபே பண்ணுறதுங்கிறத விட இப்போ பே பண்ணிடுறீங்களா அப்படி தானே ஆரம்பிப்பாங்க கொஸ்டின். இட்ஸ் அ வெரி நைஸ் டேர்ம் டு ஸ்டார்ட் ஆஃப் வித். ஏன்னா அப்படி தான் பே பண்ணும்போது லோக்கலி இன் தமிழ்நாடு இஃப் யூ கோயிங் அண்ட் பேயிங் சம்வேர், இப்போ பே பண்ணிடுறீங்களா ஜி அப்படி தான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவோம் இல்லையா. ஸோ தட் இட் செல்ஸ் அ வெரி நைஸ் வே. ஸோ யூ கேன் ஆல்சோ ஷேர் அபவுட் வாட் யூ டூ, நீங்கள் என்ன பண்ணுறீங்கன்னு சொல்லுங்கள் அண்ட் வீல் டேக் இட் ஆஃப் ஃப்ரம் தேர்.
ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அந்த நேம் த பிராண்ட் நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது ஐ வாஸ் ஸோ கிளியர் தட் ஐ வுட் ஹவ் நேம் த தமிழில் வைக்கணும் அப்படின்னு ரொம்ப கிளியராக இருந்தேன். அப்போ நான் யோசிச்சிட்டே இருந்தேன், இப்போ வந்து ஐ எம் ஹெல்பிங் மெர்ச்சன்ட் டு அக்செப்ட் பேமெண்ட்ஸ்னோ. அப்போ அந்த மெர்ச்சன்ட்ஸ் வந்துட்டு அவங்க கஸ்டமர்கிட்ட பே பண்ணுப்பா, பே நவ் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறாங்கல்ல. அப்போ அந்த பே நவ் இப்போது அதுதான் அந்த ஒரு காம்பினேஷன். ஸோ நம்ம யூஸ்வலாக ஏர்லி ஸ்டேஜ் ஸ்டார்டர்ஸ்க்கு வந்து இந்த பிராண்டிங் இஸ் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். அந்த நேம் டெஃபினட்டாக எங்களுக்கு ஒரு நிறையா ப்ளே பண்ணுது. இப்போ பேல வாட் வி டூ அப்படின்னா லைக் வி பிரிங் டிஜிட்டல் அண்ட் ஃபினான்ஷியல் எம்பவர்மெண்ட் டு Tier 2, Tier 3 அண்ட் ரூரல் ஏரியா பீப்புளுக்கு வந்து எங்கள் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணுறோம். எங்களோட மெயின் ஃபோக்கஸ் வந்துட்டு ஒரு வில்லேஜில் இருக்கிற ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு பொட்டிக்கடை அவங்களுக்கும் அந்த டிஜிட்டல் அக்செப்டன்ஸை வந்து இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணணும் அப்படி தான். ஸோ டெக்னிக்கலி வி ஆர் ப்ரொவைடிங் நியோ பேங்கிங் சொல்யூஷன் டு ஆஃப்லைன் ரீட்டெயில் பிஸ்னஸஸ்.
Got. And one thing interesting I found, இவங்க ஆப்வியஸாக அவங்கள பற்றி பேசும்போது இப்போ அதுவும் பர்டிகுலராக வீசா பற்றி பேசி ஆகணும். ஒன் திங் தட் அவங்க நேமிங்கில் நான் யோசிச்சு பார்த்தேன் ஒன்று, ரைட்? பிகாஸ் இட் இஸ் வீசானாலே வி ஆல்ரெடி ஹேட் ஒன் இமேஜ் அபவுட் வாட் இஸ் அ வீசா. ஒரு ஊருக்கு போகிறது தான் வீசா அப்படிங்கிற தட் ஃபால் வாஸ் தேர். இன் அ வெரி சிமிலர் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் வே உங்ககிட்டயும் வந்து இப்போ பே, ஐ திங்க் யுவர் கம்பெனிஸ் நேம் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த திங்ஸ் வேர் பிராண்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே எவ்ரிவோட யூஸ்ட் இட். இப்போ பே பண்ணுங்க அப்படிங்கிறது எவ்ரிவனோட ஆக்சுவலி யூஸ்ட் இட். ஸோ அகைன் kudos to you on that. Tell me about this visa part as well. இல்லையா?
ஓகே, ஸோ அது வந்து ஒன் ஆஃப் த மைல் ஸ்டோன் அட் இப்போப்பே. ஏன்னா வென் ஐ அப்ரோச் ஐ டுக் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் 6 months டு கன்வின்ஸ் வீசா டு பார்ட்னர் வித் அஸ். ஏன்னா நாங்கள் எங்கள் செக்டாருக்கு வந்துட்டு இஸ் -1 டெக்னிக்கலி. நாங்கள் எங்கள் டேர்ம்ஸில் -1 சிபில் ஸ்கோர் இருக்காது, கிரெடிட்ஸ் வந்து அவங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப டஃப். ஸோ ரொம்ப ஃபோர்ஸ் பண்ணி ரொம்ப கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணி வி மேட் அ பார்ட்னர்ஷிப் வித் வீசா டு ப்ரொவைட் அ கிரெடிட் கார்டு டு புஷ் கார்டு வெண்டர்ஸ். இப்போ நீங்கள் கோயில்லையோ இல்லை ஸ்ட்ரீட்லேயோ ஒரு பூக்கடை வச்சிருக்கிற ஒரு 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 அம்மாவோ ஒரு அப்பாவுக்கோ வந்துட்டு கிரெடிட் கார்டு யூஸ் பண்ணால் எப்படி இருக்கும்? தட் வாஸ் மை விசன் ஆக்சுவலாக. இப்போ ஒரு ஐடி செக்டாரில் ஒரு டெக் சைடு உள்ளவங்களுக்கு இல்லாமல் அவங்களுக்கும் அந்த ஒரு அந்த ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி க்ரியேட் பண்ணும் அப்படி தான் நாங்கள் வந்து பண்ணோம். யூஸ்வலாக பார்த்தீங்கன்னா பேங்க் வந்துட்டு பேங்க்கோடைய ஃபோக்கஸ் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா அந்த செக்டராக இருக்காது. ஓகே, எஸ்பெஷலி Tier 2 Tier 3 உள்ள அவங்க கடைக்காரவங்களுக்கு அது அவங்க ஆஃபர் பண்ணல. அவங்களுக்கு நிறையா ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்குது. ஏன்னா அது எப்படி நம்ம கலெக்ட் பண்ணுவோம், ஓகே, அவங்களுக்கு வந்து எப்படி அவங்க அண்டர் ரைட் பண்ணுறது, இந்த மாதிரி நிறையா சேலஞ்சஸ் இருக்கும். ஸோ அதனால் வந்து பேங்க் வந்து அதை நாங்கள் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணல. சரி, ஓகே, நம்ம அதை ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணலாம். ஒரு வித்தியாசமாக அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு கிரெடிட்ஸ் ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி உங்களுக்கு தெரியும்ல. இப்போது வந்து Tier 2 Tier 3 உள்ள ஏரியாவில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கிரெடிட்ஸ் வந்து தண்டல் அப்படின்னு ஒரு கான்செப்ட் இருக்கும். ஓகே, ஸோ அதில் வந்து இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ரேட்டு அதோடைய ஹேண்ட்லிங் எல்லாமே இஸ் வெரி டிஃப்ரெண்ட். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு டெக்னாலஜியை என்னுடைய ஃபோக்கஸே அதானே, இந்த மாதிரி டெக்னாலஜியை அந்த மாதிரி மக்களுக்கு எடுத்துகிட்டு போகணும் அப்படிங்கிறது தான் அதோடைய விசன். அது நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி ஒருத்த மைல் ஸ்டோன். சீக்கிரம் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்சு இந்தியாவிலே வந்து இப்போப்பே தான் ஃபஸ்ட் டைம் வந்து அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு எஸ்எம்இ மார்க்கெட்டுக்கு ஒரு இண்டிவிஜுவலுக்கு வந்து கிரெடிட் கார்டு ஆஃபர் பண்ண போகுது. தேங்க்யூ. ஸோ ஸ்ரீநாத், எனக்கு ஒரு கொஸ்டின். ஓகே, ஸோ என்னுடைய அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் ஒரு ஸ்டேஜில் எப்படி இருந்ததுன்னா, அக்னிக்குள் வந்து நீங்கள் எங்களை ஸ்பேஸ் கூட்டு போய் சுற்றி காமிப்பீங்க அப்படி தான் இருந்தது. இப்போ புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டோம். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு விஷன் உங்களுக்கு இருக்கா? வில் யூ டேக் அஸ் டு த மூன் சம்வேர் எல்ஸ்? நம்ம அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி எங்களுக்கு கொடுப்பீங்களா? கொடுத்தா எவ்வளோ சார்ஜ் பண்ணுவீங்க அதுவும் சொல்லிடுங்க.
யா, டெஃபினெட்லி பார்ட் ஆஃப் த விஷன். இப்போ இமீடியட்டாக ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போதே வந்து பறக்கிறத பற்றி பேசக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. இட்ஸ் யூஷுவலி த நார்மல் வே வி டாக் அபவுட் இட். இல்லை, வென் வி க்ரோ அப் ஆல்சோ ஃபஸ்ட்டு நடக்கலாம் அப்புறம் பறக்கலாம். தட் இஸ் ஹவு வி யூஷுவலி சே, ரைட்? ஸோ வி டாக் அபவுட் வை டோன்ட் யூ வாக் பிஃபோர் யூ ஃப்ளை, தட் இஸ் த யூஷுவல் பேசுவாங்க. ஸோ அப்படி தான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி இது வந்து ஃப்ளையிங்குள்ளே இப்போ நான் ஃப்ளையிங்குள்ளே ஃப்ளையிங் ஒன்று இருக்குது. தட் இஸ் வாட் யூ ஆர் டாக்கிங் அபவுட். மூணுக்கு போகிறது, டீப்பர் ஸ்பேஸ் மிஷன்ஸ் அண்ட் ஆல் தோஸ் திங்ஸ். ஐ திங்க் அகெயின் நம்ம கண்ட்ரியில் இப்போ அதெல்லாம் பண்ணிருக்காங்க, விச் இஸ் அமேசிங். எனக்கு வந்து நான் படிக்கும் போது இந்த சயின்ஸ் ஃபிக்ஷன்லாம் ஐ யூஸ் டு ரீட் அ லாட் ஆஃப் இட். அப்போ வந்து இந்த மாதிரி மூணுக்கு போகிறது, லேண்டிங், இதெல்லாம் வந்து ஒன்று அப்போலோ மிஷன், நீல் ஆம்ஸ்ட்ராங், தட்ஸ் அ யூஷுவல் டாக் இல்லையா? இப்போ வந்து இங்கே we are seeing it happen. இங்கே வந்து லேண்ட் பண்ணுறோம், எல்லோரும் பார்க்குறோம், எங்கள் டீம் எல்லோரும் சேர்ந்து we all saw it together, the landing on the moon and all that. இங்கே அதெல்லாம் பாசிபிள்னா, if government is paving the way for that, I think private companies can also follow. ஸோ அதுக்கான ரூட் இஸ் தேர். இப்போ வந்து இப்போ ஒரு இன்வெஸ்டர், if you are going and raising funds or anything like that, என்ன ரிஸ்க் எடுக்கிறீங்க தான் ஃபஸ்ட்டு கேட்பாங்க. ஏன்னா that is what is going to give them the money back. டெக்னாலஜி வைஸ் கவர்மெண்ட் இஸ் பிரேக்கிங் தோஸ் ரிஸ்க்ஸ். இதெல்லாம் பண்ண முடியும். ஃபீஸிபிலிட்டி ஃப்ரம் இன்ஜினியரிங் ஸ்டாண்ட் பாயிண்ட் இஸ் பீயிங் ஷோன். முடியும். நீங்கள் வந்து புதுசாக ஒரு தேரியே கண்டுபிடிக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்லை, அந்த மாதிரிலாம் எதுவும் இல்லை, இருக்குது, போக முடியும். நவ் இட் இஸ் அப் டு தி பிஸ்னஸ் பீப்புள் டு ஃபிகர் அவுட் ஸ்மார்ட்டர் வேஸ் டு டூ இட், ஆர் ஸ்மார்ட்டருங்கிறதோட எப்படி சொல்கிறது, மோர் ஃபினான்ஷியலி எஃபிஷியன்ட் வேஸ் டு டூ இட். ஸோ அதை வச்சு ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ் மாடல் பண்ணலாம். ஸோ எல்லா விஷனும் இப்போ வந்து இட் இஸ் பிகமிங் மோர் அண்ட் மோர் அப்ரோச்சபிள், மோர் அண்ட் மோர் ரியாலிட்டி வேஸ்ட். அக்னிக்குள்ளே பர்டிகுலராக பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ஃபஸ்ட்டு திங் வி வாண்டட் டு டூ இஸ் எலிமினேட் திஸ் ஃபியர் ஆஃப் கோயிங் டு ஸ்பேஸ். ஃபியருங்கிறதோட என்ன சொல்கிறது, ஒரு இன்ஹிபிஷன். ஸ்பேஸுக்கெலாம் இட்ஸ் நாட் ஈவன் அவர் கப் ஆஃப் டீ. அந்த பாயிண்ட்லேயே லாட் ஆஃப் பீப்புள் ட்ரா லைன் இல்லையா? இல்லை, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் லெட் அஸ் சிம்பிளிஃபை இட் டு அ பாயிண்ட் வேர் யூ கேன் ஆல்சோ கோ. நீங்களும் உங்கள் அப்ளிகேஷனுக்கு ஸ்பேஸை வச்சு எதாவது பண்ணலாம். ஃபஸ்ட்டு we have to make it approachable. அந்த ஃபியர் போனால் தான் people will actually understand. ஸோ அதுலேருந்து தான் we started off with small rockets and small satellites. பட் தெளிவாக பிளானெல்லாம் இருக்குது. நீங்கள் சொன்ன நிலாவுக்கு போகிறது, டீப்பர் ஸ்பேஸ் எல்லாத்துக்கும் பிளான்லாம் இருக்குது, வரும்.
ஒன் மோர் கொஸ்டின். இப்போ நம்ம ரெண்டு பேரும் வேறு வேறு வெர்டிக்கலாக இருந்தாலும் நமக்கு ரெண்டு பேருக்கு ஒரு காமனாக ஒன்று இருக்குது. என்னென்னா அந்த ரெகுலேஷன்ஸ். ஓகே, ஸோ ஃபின்டெக்கில் நாங்கள் வந்து எங்களுடைய மேஜராக நாங்கள் வந்து நிறைய எஃபோர்ட், நிறைய டைம் எல்லாமே வந்து இந்த ரெகுலேஷன்ஸ் தான் பண்ணுவோம். ஏன்னா அது ரெகுலேட் பண்ணணும், ரெகுலேட்டர்ஸை ஃபாலோ பண்ணுங்கிறது அது நம்ம பண்ணி தான் ஆகணும். ஸோ உங்களுக்கு இந்த ஸ்பேஸ் டெக் ஆல்சோ இஸ் ரெகுலேஷன்ஸ் வைஸாக கவர்மெண்ட் எந்த மாதிரி சப்போர்ட்ஸ்லாம் பண்ணுறாங்க? ஆர் யூ ரியலி ஹாப்பி வித் தேர் சப்போர்ட்ஸ்? அதாவது ஸ்பேஸ் டெக் கேட்டகரியில் ஐ திங்க் அக்னிக்குள் தானே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இன் இந்தியா.
அங்கே எங்களுக்கு முன்னாடி நிறைய பேர் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணியிருந்தாங்க. இப்போ பண்ண போகிற லான்ச் ஐ திங்க் நோ ஒன் வுட் ஹவ் டன்.
ஸோ அதை பற்றியும் சொல்லுங்கள். இந்த கவர்மெண்ட் எந்த அளவுக்கு உங்களுக்கு சப்போர்ட்,
ரெகுலேஷன் பற்றி ஆக்சுவலி
உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது வேணும்னா இப்போயே சொல்லுங்க. சார்லாம் இருக்காங்க.
இல்லை, ஐ திங்க் ஒன் ஆஃப் த பிக் திங்ஸ் 2017 ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது, அக்னிக்குள் 2017 டிசம்பர் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது லாட் ஆஃப் பீப்புள் ஆஸ்க் த கொஸ்டின், ராக்கெட்லாம் லான்ச் பண்ணலாமா லீகலாக ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் அப்படின்ட்டு. ஸோ தட் இஸ் நோ பீன் கம்ப்ளீட்லி ப்ரோக்கன். இப்போ வந்து இந்தியா லெவலில் தெர் இஸ் அ கிளியர் பாலிசி அண்ட் அ ஃப்ரேம் ஒர்க் டு சே போய் லான்ச் பண்ணலாம். யூ கேன் ஆக்சுவலி நீங்கள் சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா ஐயோ ஸ்பேஸ் எக்ஸ் ஆஃப் இந்தியா மாதிரினா யூ கேன் ஆக்சுவலி பில்ட் அ ஸ்பேஸ் எக்ஸ் இன் இந்தியா டுடே. எல்லாத்துக்கும் சேர்த்து ரெகுலேஷன் வந்துருச்சு. ஸோ நவ் இட் இஸ் அப் டு தி கம்யூனிட்டி டு கோ அண்ட் பில்ட். இனிமேல் கவர்மெண்ட்னால வந்து ரெகுலேஷன் சைடில் எதுவும் ஓப்பன் பண்ணணும்னு இல்லை. நான் அந்த கொஸ்டினை உங்கள்கிட்ட கேட்குறேன். நீங்கள் ஏன்னா யூஸ்வலாக ஃபினான்ஸ் எதாவது ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னாலே ப்ராடக்ட்லாம் பண்ணிடலாம், மேபி கஸ்டமர்ஸ் கூட பிடிச்சிடலாம், கவர்மெண்ட் விடாதேன்னு தான் ஒரு பயம் இருக்கும். ஹவு டிட் யூ ஈவன் ஃபார் அதர் பீப்புள் ஆர் ட்ரைங் டு டூ திங்ஸ் இன் ஃபைனான்ஸ் அதை பற்றி யோசிக்காமல் அந்த இனஷா எப்படி தாண்டி வந்தீங்க? ஹவு டிட் யூ ஓவர் கம் தட் இனஷா?
நான் தாண்டல, அந்த மாட்டிட்டேனே. ஓகே, ஸோ எங்கள் இண்டஸ்ட்ரியை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் நீங்கள் வந்து ரெகுலேஷன்ஸை ஃபாலோ பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னா யூஸ்வலாக என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க அப்படின்னா அப்போ நீ ஸ்டார்ட் அப் பண்ணக்கூடாது. ஸோ ஆர்பிஐயாக இருக்கட்டும், என்பிசியாக இருக்கட்டும், சரி அவங்க பாயிண்டில் ரொம்ப கிளியராக இருக்காங்க. என்னென்னா வந்து பேங்க்கை தாண்டி யாரும் வந்துடக்கூடாது அப்படிங்கிறதுல ரொம்ப கிளியராக இருக்காங்க, விச் இஸ் ரைட். ஓகே, பட் எங்களுக்கு வந்து நிறையா ஸ்ட்ரகிள் இருந்தாலும் ஓகே அதை ஓவர் கம் பண்ணுறதுக்குள்ள பாசிபிலிட்டிஸ் தான் நாங்கள் வந்து எப்போவுமே பார்த்துட்ருப்போம். இப்போது எஸ்பெஷலி பிஏபிஜி லைசன்ஸ். ஓகே, இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து அப்போது நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது லைசன்ஸே தேவையில்லை. ஓகே, நீங்கள் பேங்க்கில் போயிட்டு இஃப் யூ கேன் ஓப்பன் அ நோடல் அக்கௌண்ட்னா யூ கேன் பிகம் அ பேமெண்ட் கேட்வே, நீங்கள் அக்ரிகேட் பண்ணலாம். ஸோ நான் என்ன பண்ணேன், ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி அக்ரிகேட் பண்ணி மெர்ச்சன்ட்டு லைக் ட்ரான்சாக்ஷனு வி பிகம் அ வெரி ஃபேமஸ், வி பிகம் அ ப்ராஃபிட்டபிள் ஸ்டார்ட் அப். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு ரெகுலேஷன் வருது. அந்த ரெகுலேஷனில் ஒரு டேட்டு சொல்லுவாங்கள்ல, இந்த டேட்டில் அப்புறம் இதுக்கு முன்னாடி இந்த டேட்டுக்கு முன்னாடி கம்பெனி ரிஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணவங்க யூ கேன் நவ் யூ ஹவ் டு அப்ளை கெட் த ரியல் லைசன்ஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. பட் அன்ஃபார்ச்சுனேட்லி அந்த டேட்டில் நாங்கள் மேட்ச் ஆகலை. ஓகே, ஸோ அதனாலே வந்து எங்களுக்கு லைசன்ஸ் கிடைக்கல. பட் அகெயின் ஸோ வி ஆர் கோயிங் டு ரீஅப்ளை திஸ் மார்ச். ஸோ நான் யூஸ்வலாக என்ன ஃபீல் பண்ணுறேன் அப்படின்னா த ஒன்லி வே டு ரெகுலேட் இஸ் ஹசில். ஓகேங்களா, ஸோ நம்ம அதை எப்படி ஓவர் கம் பண்ணுறதை விட அதை வச்சு போராடி இப்போது நாங்கள் வந்து லைக் பட் லக்கிலி வி ஹேட் ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி பிவட் இன்டு ஆஃப்லைன். ஸோ ஆஃப்லைனில் கியூஆர் கோடு வந்துட்டு அந்த இதுக்கு மூவ் பண்ணிட்டோம். ஸோ ஆன்சர் வந்து ரொம்ப கஷ்டம்தான் சீரியஸாகவே.
What my question was, somehow உங்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் whatever I've பேசியிருக்கேன் and also read about you, somehow you're able to handle failures-லாம். அது வரும் போகும், அதை ஒரு பற்றி அதை சுத்தமாக you don't even have a தெரில, அது பெருசாகவே பண்ணுறதில்ல. You don't really seem to be afraid of failure. அதை பற்றி கொஞ்சம் சொல்கிறீங்களா? Again, for people who are looking to start something, I think ஹார்ட்வேர் சைட்லேயும் இருக்குது. அதை பற்றி நான் ஒன்று சொல்லணும்னு நினச்சேன், பட் அது முன்னாடி உங்களை கேட்கலான்னு.
நான் பயப்பட மாட்டேன், ஏன்னா நான் 8ல் படிக்கல. ஓகே, நான் ஒரு கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூலில் தான் படித்தேன். எனக்கு வந்துட்டு இப்போ நீங்கள் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி பிளான் பண்ணி நீங்கள் வேலை பண்ணுங்கள், எனக்கு வேலை பண்ண தெரியாது சீரியஸாக. ஓகே, இப்போ கொஞ்சம் இப்போ கொஞ்சம் கற்றுட்டு வர்றேன். ரொம்ப தைரியம், உண்மையை சொல்லணும்னா எனக்கு குருட்டுத்தனமான ஒரு தைரியம் தான். இப்போது நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது எனக்கு வந்து ஜீரோ பேங்கிங் நாலேஜ் இன் இந்தியா. ஓகேங்களா, பட் த பெஸ்ட் பார்ட் வாஸ் ஜெய், மை கோஃபவுண்டர் சிடிஓ. ஸோ ஹி வாஸ் வித் பேங்க் ஆஃப் அமெரிக்கா டெக் டீமு. அவர்கிட்ட நீங்கள் என்ன சொன்னாலும் டெவலப் பண்ணி கொடுத்துருவார். ஓகேங்களா, ஸோ அதனால் வந்துட்டு அந்த ஒரு அட்வான்டேஜும் எனக்கு இருந்தது. தைரியமாக ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம். அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் வந்துட்டு எனக்கு நிறைய விஷயங்கள் தெரிய வந்தது. இப்போ ரீசெண்டாக இது ஆக்சுவலாக ஒரு ஜோக் மாதிரி தான், நான் உண்மையாக நடந்தது. லெண்டிங்கில் உள்ள என்ட்ராக போகிறோம். இப்போ எஸ்எம்இ மார்க்கெட்டுக்கு லெண்ட் பண்ண போகிறோம். அப்போ ஒரு கான்வர்சேஷன் வந்து அந்த லெண்டிங் பார்ட்னர் வந்துட்டு ஹி வாஸ் டாக்கிங் அபவுட் எஃப்எல்டிஜி. ஓகே, ஏன்னா ஒரு மினிமமாக ஒரு அமௌண்ட்டை நம்ம பார்க் பண்ணி வச்சுருந்துருக்கணும். அந்த கான்வர்சேஷனில் எனக்கு எஃப்எல்டிஜி என்னென்ன தெரியாதுங்க. ஆனால் வந்து ஐ மேட் அப் மை மைண்ட், ஐ எம் கோயிங் டு லெண்ட், ஐ வாண்ட் டு கிரியேட் 100 crores 200 crores லோன் புக் அப்படின்னு டிசைட் பண்ணிட்டேன். பட் எனக்கு 10% எஃப்எல்டிஜி போன்னு தெரியாது. அவர் பேசிகிட்டு இருக்கும்போது ஐ வாஸ் கூகுளில் டைப் பண்ணேன், வாட் இஸ் மீன் பை எஃப்எல்டிஜி அப்படின்னு. ஆனால் இன்றைக்கி நீங்கள் அதை கேட்டிங்கன்னா எனக்கு எல்லாத்துலேயுமே எஃப்எல்டிஜி பற்றி எனக்கு எல்லாமே தெரியும். ஹானஸ்ட்லி லைக் வி காட் 2 lending partners. ஓகே, லைட் மணி அண்ட் வெரிட்டாஸ், சென்னை பேஸ்ட் கம்பெனி ஆர் லெண்டிங் பார்ட்னர்ஸ். அவங்க மணி யூஸ் பண்ணி தான் அங்கே லெண்ட் பண்ணிகிட்ருக்கோம். ஸோ ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிலாம் இல்லாமல் ரொம்ப யோசிக்காமல் நம்ம வந்து பிஸ்னஸ் பண்ண முடிஞ்சால் சக்ஸஸ் ஆகும்னு நான் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்காக நம்புகிறேன். ஃபெயிலியர்ஸ் நிறையா பார்த்துட்டேங்க. ஐ சா 7 failures. ஓகே, பேக் டு பேக் 1 by 1. ஒரு ஃபெயிலியருக்கே நம்ம வந்து ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாக இருக்கும். நான் அதெல்லாம் பார்த்தனால எனக்கு ஒரு 2 daysக்கு முன்னாடி ஒருத்தர்கிட்ட பேசிகிட்டு இருந்தேன், மோகன் லைசன்ஸே இல்லை, ஆஃப்லைனுக்கு லைசன்ஸ் வருமானே தெரியாது, எவ்வளோ தூரம் நீங்கள் இன்னும் ரிஸ்க் எடுப்பீங்க அப்படின்னு என்கிட்ட கேட்டார். வி ஹாவ் மணி இந்த பேங்க் அக்கௌண்ட்டா. ஸோ நான் அப்போ அவர்கிட்ட சொன்னேன், ஹீ நோஸ் தட் ஹவு மச் மணி ஐ ஹவ் இன் பேங்க் அக்கௌண்ட். ஐ செட் அந்த அமௌண்ட் 0 ஆகிற வரைக்கும் நான் ட்ரை பண்ணுவேன். ஓகே, ஏன்னா நான் ஃபெயில் ஆனேன்னா நான் ட்ரை பண்ணி ஃபெயில் ஆனதாக இருக்கணுமே தவிர ஒரு ரெகுலேஷனோ ஒரு ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜியோ வந்து ஃபெயில் பண்ணக்கூடாது. ஸோ அதனால் சரி எவ்வளோ பார்த்துட்டோம், இதுக்கு மேலே என்ன அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு
திங்க் அதில் ஒரு பேரல் எனக்கும் அதே தான். அட்லீஸ்ட் இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் அது சொல்லுவாங்க இல்லையா, இன்ஸ்டெட் ஆஃப் ஃபெயிலிங் டு ட்ரை யூ கேன் ட்ரை அண்ட் தென் ஃபெயில் இஃப் யூ ஆல் ஃபெயிலியர்னு வந்துருச்சுன்னா அப்படின்ட்டு. ஸோ ஐ திங்க் சேம் திங் ஹார்ட்வேர் இந்த இன்ஜினியரிங் வேலை பண்ணுவாங்க. நீங்கள் யூ வுட் ஹவ் சீன் வீட்டில் கூட ஒரு பல்பு கூட ஓடுனா ரொம்ப நேரம் ஓடாது, ஆனால் அதை அட்லீஸ்ட் ரெக்டிஃபை பண்ணலாம். இன் ஸ்பேஸ் டெக் யூஸ்வலி ஒன்ஸ் யூ புட் இட் அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்மள்ட்ட கண்ட்ரோல் பெருசாக இல்லை. அதுவும் இன் ராக்கெட்ஸ் ஒன்ஸ் யூ ஸ்டார்ட் அது பண்ணுறதும் பண்ணோம். நம்ம ஒரு இட் இஸ் லைக் வாட்சிங் அ மூவி ஒன்லி. சைடில் உட்காந்து ஒரு நிறைய 5 வருஷம் வேலை பண்ணியிருப்போம், பறக்கும், எல்லோரும் பார்ப்பாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறோம். அது போய் சேர்ந்துச்சுன்னா ஓகே, சேரலன்னா ஒன்றும் பெருசால ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது, அவ்வளோதான் வெண்ட் த ஓஷன்னு சொல்லி முடிச்சிடும். ஸோ
என்னங்க இப்போ தான் ஒருத்தர் டைட்டானிக்கை பார்க்க போகிற கூப்பிட்டு போயிட்டு அந்த மாதிரி இருக்குது.
ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கிற ஒரு ஃபீல்டில் வந்து ஃபெயிலியரை பற்றிலாம் பயந்துட்டா ஐ திங்க் இட் பிகம்ஸ் வெரி ஸ்கேரி. ஸோ ஒன் திங் நான் வந்து கற்றுக்கிட்டது டீம்டையும் அதான் சொல்லுவேன். இது பேசிக்காக ஒரு இன்ஜினியரிங் செட் ஆஃப் ஒரு லாஸ் இருக்குது, ஃபிசிக்ஸ் லாஸ்லாம் படிச்சிருவோம், அதுதான் ஃபாலோ பண்ணணும், கொஞ்சம் கரெக்டாக பண்ணணும். என்ன ராக்கெட் இஸ் லெஸ் ஃபர்கிவிங், அவ்வளோ மன்னிச்செல்லாம் விட்டுறது, தப்பு பண்ணால் போவாது, அவ்வளோதான். ஸோ தப்பு பண்ணாமல் எவ்வளோ பண்ண முடியுதோ பண்ணுங்கள். பட் தட் டசன்ட் மீன் யூ ஷுடன்ட் ட்ரை ஆர் யூ ஷுட் நாட் என்ன சொல்கிறது திங்கிங் ஆஃப் தட் நாட் ஸ்டார்ட். நீங்கள் சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா, இஃப் 7 times யூ ஃபெயில் அண்ட் பேக் டு பேக் யூ சீன் இட், எனி டைம் அந்த நடுவில் யூ குட் ஹவ் ஸ்டாப்ட், பட் யூ டிண்ட், யூ ஸ்டில் லைக் பரவாயில்ல இன்னொன்னும் தாங்கிப்பேன் அப்படின்னு. இட் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் பிகேம் லைக் பழகிடுச்சு சொல்கிறீங்க இல்லையா. வெரி சிமிலர் திங் ஐ திங்க். ஏன்னா ஒரு வி ரியலைஸ்ட் ஒன் சிங்கிள் பீஸ் 3D printed இன்ஜின் சொல்லுவாங்க. மீனிங் என்டையர் ராக்கெட் இன்ஜின் வந்து ஒரே ஷாட்டில் வந்துடும். வி டோன்ட் நீட் டு ஹேவ் எனி ஹியூமன் இன்டர்வென்ஷன் இன் த ப்ராசஸ். மிஷின் வில் பில்ட் அ ராக்கெட் இன்ஜின், எடுத்து வி கேன் புட் இட் இன் த வெஹிக்கிள். தட் லெவல் ஆஃப் autonomy is there. But to get to that, some 70-80 iterations, failure மேலே failure. So at that point in time, that is what we are telling the team. One point in it became like, if you keep on trying, at one point it has to work fine. So I think I agree with you on that, and that is, if anyone is wanting to do anything, he's in a completely different sector, I'm in a completely different sector, but there is one match there. I think not being afraid of failures is something you absolutely need to have in mind if you're trying something. நீங்கள் சொல்லுங்கள், டைமும் முடிய போகுது, ஒரு கொஸ்டின் கூட கேட்டுறேன். அடுத்து என்ன பேங்க் அப்படி அடுத்த லெவல் அப்படி போயிடலாம் தான் பிளானா?
இல்லைங்க, ஸோ நான் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்காக நம்புகிறேன், லைக் வி கேனாட் காம்பீட் ஆர் வி கேனாட் ரீப்ளேஸ் பேங்க்ஸ் இன் இந்தியா. ஓகே, ஸோ நாங்கள் என்ன ட்ரை பண்ணுறோம் அப்படின்னா, லைக் வி வாண்ட் டு க்ளோஸ்லி ஒர்க் வித் பேங்க் அண்ட் பில்ட் அ ப்ராப்பர் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் சேனல் வித் பெட்டர் டெக்னாலஜி. ஓகே, ஃபின்டெக்கோடைய நோக்கமே வந்து பார்த்திங்க அப்படின்னா ஒரு டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் ப்ளே வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து பேங்க்கை விட பெட்டராக பண்ண முடியும் நாங்கள் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்காக நம்புகிறோம். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் இப்போ நீங்கள் லெண்டிங் எடுத்துங்களேன். ஸோ நீங்கள் வந்து லோன் வேணும் அப்படின்னா ஒரு எஸ்எம்இ வந்து பேங்க்கில் போய் லோன் அப்ளை பண்ணணும். ஆனால் எங்கள் இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நாங்கள் கடைக்கே போய் அவங்களுக்கு லோன் ஆஃபர் பண்ணுவோம். ஸோ பேங்க்கை காம்பீட் பண்ணணும், பேங்கை ரீப்ளேஸ் பண்ணணும் இல்லை ஸ்ரீநாத். ஸோ அவங்க கூட வேலை பண்ண ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி கொடுத்தா போதும், 2 பேர் சேர்ந்து க்ரோ ஆகிடலாம்.
Super, got it. We'll definitely hope that you will receive all success. இன்னொன்று ஒரு இது, நாங்கள் ஹோப்ஃபுல்லி டிசம்பரே லான்ச் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தோம். இப்போ எல்லா டெஸ்ட்டும் முடிஞ்சிருச்சு ஆனால் டிசம்பருக்குள்ளே. ஸோ இப்போ எங்களோட வெஹிக்கிள் ஹஸ் கான் டு ஸ்ரீஹரிகோட்டா, லான்ச் பேடுக்கு போயிடுச்சு. லாஸ்ட் பிட் ஆஃப் செக்ஸ் நடந்துட்டுருக்கு. ஜான்வரியில் பண்ணிவிடுவோம், இல்லை வர்ஸ்ட் கேஸ் ஃபெப்ரவரி நடந்துன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஹோப்பிங் டு ஹேவ் ஆல் ஆஃப் யுவர் விஷஸ் அண்ட் யுவர் விஷஸ் ஆல்சோ ஃபார் அ சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல் லான்ச். தேங்க்யூ
ஸோ மச்.
தேங்க்யூ.
There's more in this action-packed evening. We are privileged to host our distinguished experts to delve into the intricacies of an enlightening panel discussions on dynamic startup ecosystem nurturing innovation. Join us in exploring diverse viewpoints and shedding light on key facets that shape our understanding. It's both an honor and a privilege to welcome the panelists, Mr. Jarshad, Editor-in-Chief, Your Story and the Cap Table. Please join us on the stage, sir. Mr. William Baubin, Managing General Partner, Orbit Startups and General Partner, SOSV. Mr. M.V. Subramanian, General Partner, July Ventures. Please join us on the stage, sir. Dr. K. Suresh Kumar, President of Indian Steps and Business Incubators Association. Please join us, sir. Dr. Chandravardhana R., Founder and Managing Trustee, Prayana. Yeah. And Mr. Naved Narayan, VP, Head R&D Center, Bosch. Please join us on stage. Yeah.
I'm Jarshad, the moderator for the evening. I was asked to introduce ourselves and the other panelists on the dais. I'm the editor-in-chief of Your Story, as Preeti said. and also the editor-in-chief of Cap Table. Your Story is the oldest media organization in this country that is covering startups solely. We started covering startups even when startups was not a buzzword and was still being hyphenated even when it was used. Just before this, I was the founding dean of the Asian College of Journalism, Bloomberg Business Journalism program, and I ran it for 5 years. Among other places, I worked in Reuters, Forbes, The Economic Times, Indo Business Line, numerous others. On my extreme right, we have Dr. Chandra Vadana. She is a Fulbright awardee, a visiting postdoctoral fellow, and an accomplished social entrepreneur from India. She is working at the Gendered Innovations Lab under the guidance of Professor Longa Binger at History Department from January 22nd to January 24th. Congratulations, she's just received a faculty position at the Monash Business School in Australia. On my right is Mr. Navid Narayan, VP, Head R&D Center, Bosch. Mr. Navid is a distinguished figure in the automotive industry and boasts over 25 years of experience and has a journey that is marked by multifaceted strategy development, innovation, project management, software development, and many other roles. He also has an extensive career that has seen him through leading transformative phases, established centers of excellence, and successfully managed sales and marketing operations in Japan, contributing to a rich tapestry of intercultural experiences. On my left, hello. Yeah. On my left is Mr. William Baobin, the managing general partner of Orbit Startups and a general partner at SOSV. William is a distinguished William is a pioneering and long-running heads Orbit Startups, which is a pioneering and long-running startup program in Asia. Simultaneously, like I said, he also has a general partner in SOV, and he primarily is an early-stage investment platform that invests in emerging economies. And to the left of Mr. William is Mr. MVS. MVS is a serial entrepreneur and now a general partner in July Ventures and AIF. He was the founder and managing director of Future Focus Infotech. He is also a well-respected investor and director in Native Lead. MVS has been working to promote entrepreneurship in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities around the country. And on the extreme left, we have Mr. K. Suresh Kumar, the president of Indian Steps and Business Incubators Association. Mr. Suresh Kumar started his career in Coimbatore in a textile machinery manufacturing company, after which he joined the PSG Science and Technology Entrepreneurial Park, the technology business incubator associated with the PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore. He is a certified business incubation trainer by Infodev, the World Bank Group, and a mentor in the National Entrepreneurship Network. He has participated in various international programs, workshops held in various countries. Mr. Suresh Kumar holds an engineering degree in mechanical and a PhD in management. Now, while it's true that a successful startup is a result of brilliant minds and a lot of hard work, it is also true that certain areas and regions and institutions and even people have been helping spawn many more successful startups than others have. And so today, what we hope to understand through this panel discussion is probably the secret sauce of such innovative startup ecosystems around the world, and what makes them tick. How does Tamil Nadu stack up against such innovative startup systems around the world, and probably what are the best practices that we can have probably from other such ecosystems, or what does Tamil Nadu do well. Roughly this panel discussion will be for around 45 minutes. The first, and into two parts. The first part will be me asking them questions that are common to everybody, and also sometimes asking specific questions to them individually, depending on their area of expertise. Let's dive right into it and ask all of them the question, what according to you are the elements of a successful dynamic startup ecosystem? Who wants to go first? Do you want to go, Mr. Suresh?
Thanks, Jashad, and good evening, everyone. And as Jashad mentioned, I represent the incubation community. So according to me, the dynamic ecosystem is to support the startups. And the first objective of any dynamic ecosystem, as far as incubation center, is not to ensure the success of the startup, but to ensure the survival of the startups.
Build a good startup. The other people, the ecosystem around that will start supporting them as soon as they believe that the entrepreneur supports that thought. So everybody will be falling into place after that.
Yeah. So let me stick with you, MVS. And as an investor, what do you think Tamil Nadu has to offer as a startup ecosystem?
Now you see, GIM, for example, Global Investors Meet. This is the first time I am attending. I am in the Chennai for so long, but I was not part of it. So now this is one of the example. Tamil Nadu has a very, very aggressive policies now for the startup ecosystem to grow. Few things which I am also associated with in some way or other with TANSIM. I think after this TANSIM has been formed, there are so many activities which has been initiated that is actually making the startup ecosystem to be vibrant. Now I come back to before even the TANSIM has been in place, the incubation centers, which played a major role in terms of, at least Tamil Nadu has the largest number of incubation centers. Throughout the India, if you take, they have more than 100 incubation centers, including government and the non-governmental institution-based. So incubation centers. I think Tamil Nadu, the investment part, which is something which we have to discuss in future, but the number of companies which is ready for investment into startups were not as good available in Bangalore or in other parts in Delhi. Tamil Nadu is growing. As a government, they took enough initiatives for last 2 years, which I know, that also includes inclusivity, that also includes women startups which get funded. So Tamil Nadu has played a major role in terms of building this ecosystem very strongly. I am certainly sure, because I am in this startup ecosystem for more than 15 years, certainly sure that
Yeah, so I'd say, I mean, we're global emerging frontier markets investors investing all around the world. And we're not of anywhere, we're not local. So what we do is we provide help in terms of growth, data-driven decision making. We help with sales, customer acquisition, user acquisition. We're basically bringing a process, a systematic approach to helping companies grow up and then go and scale across region, across nation, and then actually across border to hopefully to other countries. So for us, it really comes down to the founders. The founders here that we've so far interacted with are just quite aggressive. And aggressive, you know, in a good way. Very, very, very passionate. They don't take a lot of shit. So far so good. We've about last year we invested, beginning of last year we invested in a company called Fulfilly, which is doing quite well. We hope that they can grow up within not just this region, but then go nationwide. And then we're looking at hopefully potentially bringing them global outside of India.
Thank you. Chandra, can you tell us how gender diversity within the startup ecosystem impacts its performance and success? Can you share that with a few examples?
Yeah. Thank you. So, since I already started with a gender note, basically I represent, or rather I just have been associated medicine, engineering, and all aspects of innovation, how we can incorporate or make use of the potentials of gender, sex intersectionality for as an opportunity, I would say. So if you look at gender, there are two things. One, gender as an opportunity or as an opportunity for innovation, that is one. The second is gender diversity, how it promotes innovation in any organization. Let's take the case of Bosch, for example, or any other corporates, or even a startup. What is the gender diversity ratio? So if you look at several research studies, we have found that the more diverse your innovation team is, the more innovative products and services you're able to come out with. So that is one aspect of gender. The second aspect is, as I said, gender and women-related problems as an opportunity, as a market opportunity. It is projected that femtech, that is technology related to solving women's problems, globally is going to be worth around $60 to $75 billion by 2027. So that is an opportunity for all of us. And not many companies or not many startups, not many organizations are actually looking into that as a potential. The UN has recently launched a UNFPA Equity Alliance 2030, wherein companies and organizations who are supporting gender equity are being part of that and trying to solve more of women's problem. There's only one thing which I want to convey out of all of this is that the more women come into startup ecosystems, the more women enter these domains, the more women's problems get solved. Until recently, probably, nobody even thought about women's problems as a big problem. If you look at gender innovations, for example, one of the very famous case study is that until recently, there was no dummies in automobile manufacturing. There is a dummies which is used for crash testing. Until very recently, there was no female dummy which was used. So this female dummy was again developed by a woman scientist. So these are all issues which I would say is a $1 billion opportunity. So the more women come in, the more women you have in your team, in your innovation team, the more opportunity that you have for this world. Thank you.
So Suresh and MBS, as people who understand the Tamil Nadu ecosystem well, how do you think inclusivity, how inclusive is the state?
Thanks to MES sir for the compliment that has been given to the incubation community here. The environment in Tamil Nadu is conducive, right? But we have our own challenges because we work at the bottom of the pyramid of the innovators or the startups, the incubation centers. There are certain challenges today. We are working with the startups, and we are working from ideation to proof of concept to prototype. That's the value chain of any product life cycle. But the first condition the government puts on us is, right, we are working with a startup which doesn't have money, but the government expects us to be sustainable in 3 years, right? So again, we have set of incubators or the startups who will be with us from 0 to 3, then they'll graduate. Again, we'll start somebody with 0. And always we face a challenge of how an incubation center can be sustainable. And despite this challenge, most of the incubation centers are sustainable. Or at least they're not saying that we are closing. We are surviving with the support from the host institution and other donors who are helping us. But some of the policies which makes or which extends the recurring grant support to from the government, that will help us to scale up to the larger extent. This is one. The second challenge that we face is because of this, what happens? He was telling that we are not getting investable startups from the community or from the incubation center. Because of the more number of incubators and because of our sustainable challenges, most of our incubation centers today, which is between 3 to 5 years, have become investment managers rather than incubation managers.
Okay.
Right. We started, thanks to the government, because there's funding that's been available between, say, 10 lakhs to 30 lakhs, 50 lakhs. But we started becoming an investment manager rather than incubation manager. So the focus gets diverted in investing in the startups on the day one itself. But the role of an incubation center is to nurture a technology, nurture the innovation.
About inclusiveness, I was talking.
That's what, I'm coming there. So nurturing the innovations and things like that. So the focus moves there. And again, if there are proper environment has been there, then people will start about nurturing innovation. Nurturing innovation means it can start with tier 2, tier 3 innovations as geographically. It can be grassroots innovation to the technology innovation. It can be women or whatever it is, but entrepreneurship doesn't differentiate between, or innovation doesn't differentiate between women innovation or the men innovation kind of thing, right? So, so these are the three challenges that the ecosystem that I represent, right? I'm representing the ecosystem, right, as an incubation ecosystem, right? Because of certain challenges that we face, because of old school of thought, right? Incubation center has been conceptualized about 2-3 decades before. At that point of time, there was no word called startups and things like that. So people expected that as a park, as an industrial park, we have to be sustainable in rental models or whatever it is. And that same model has been followed till today, which we have to relook as a government. If it has been relooked, then people spend more time on building the ecosystem, and you create a pipeline.
Great.
Stick to your whatever you have asked as a question. Inclusivity, I think no other state is more inclusive than Tamil Nadu, as of I understand. But the most of the answers have come from this people. First, general inclusivity on the marginalized society and the other society, we are much more effective in make it inclusive. That is for sure. The second is if you talk about women, that is very specific question if you are asking. I think the crowd here, we have many women who are sitting here. Most of them are entrepreneurs or budding to be the entrepreneur. But the answer lies in the culture, what he was talking about, right? What she was also talking about. Though we have 43% of the Indian women workforce is from Tamil Nadu, the culture of this Tamil Nadu ecosystem in a large company, that too IT was booming. Everybody says go to IT, go to America, right? And then because nobody will give them the girl for a marriage. So that was a bigger issue which was going on. Imagine that culture has to change. Actually, the ecosystem is now good. If the women wanted to come forward and start working for it, I think the ecosystem is providing all the support. That much I can make.
Thank you. Navid has been waiting quietly and patiently. But my question to you is, why do you start?
I just wanted to talk about what Navid picked up as corporate is against, opposite to startup, right? Which I don't agree, because in my speech I said we need pivot companies. Unless we have pivot companies, the startups cannot be flourishing. The pivot company should be there, or Guzzles has to be like Zoho or the Fresh Desk. And you can read the materials where from Zoho, there may be another 50 companies would have started.
Yeah.
So that way, that your pivot companies are more important for us to make sure that startups.
There's defined process behind it, and the models are really dependent on the need of the startup at different phases where they are in. Some cases, it is just the domain knowledge what is required to come into a new space, right? So we understand then the need and then work accordingly.
Yeah, so as investors, there's our customer is the startup, right? And startups generally want one thing, they want money. There's two types of money. There's revenue, which is not dilutive. You don't have to give up shares for revenue. Then there's investment, which is dilutive. So if at all costs, you don't want investment, okay? You want revenue. And so for us as a service provider, we invest, but then we also try and help our companies with sales. Now, one of the challenges with startups going into corporates is communication, right? And also that matching. So for us, we have a 10-person enterprise sales team in our team, and all they do is they talk to our corporate partners all the time and just figure out what they want. In startup, you have problem and solution. Well, corporates don't have problems, right? So there's a linguistic issue. You have opportunities. Maybe you have a challenge, but usually it's just opportunities. And then you have to match. A lot of times, if a startup's just getting the product market fit, they're not actually ready to work with a corporate. You need to have something that's proven. At least you have a case study against it, even to get into pilot and POC, right? So it's a bit of matching. So when we work with like Pfizer, they said like normally it would take a year between first conversation and close the deal. Now we closed them in 3 months, mostly because we're not trying to help the startup push in, but we're engaged with the corporate and pulling, right? So as a startup, if you're trying to sell into large corporates, you got to figure out how to play the system, because there is a system. It's not like a stack system. It's, you know, but there is a system. Figure out what they want. Don't try and sell something unless they're willing to buy it, or they want to buy it, or they have budget to buy it.
Yeah. To Jarshad, to add to the startups concern, because Naveed has mentioned that startups has this concern, right, transferring the technology to the corporates. There is a missing link in the system, which I also make an appeal to the startup Tamil Nadu, right? We are talking about incubation centers, but one particular component we are lagging behind at least by 1 decade. None of the higher education institutions has technology transfer offices in our country. And the next, what next, if you ask us what next beyond incubation, right? Just before going to the research parks and things like that, we can also look at establishing TTOs, right, technology transfer offices, which will take care of the innovators' concern of transferring the technology. The startups come up with 2-3 technologies and they want to transfer, right? They can focus on one, remaining rest of the 2 can be transferred to the other industries. In the open innovation network, that's also called inward and outward. Right, corporates also they have some R&Ds, right, which there's an outcome from the R&D efforts from the corporates, which is not in their business line, which they'll be ready to shed out, and the TTOs can play an important role. So for me, between the incubation centers and the research parks, right, and a formal setup can be thought of by the thought leaders of establishing technology transfer offices in the higher education institutions, which will help us to address this small gap.
Thank you, all the panel members. It was a quite informative session to me. Recently, I started my startup journey. Previously, I was working. I would like to take this opportunity to register what I'm experiencing. I'm sorry, Chandravadana, I'm going to oppose. It's a kind of opposition. It's a kind of equal opportunity to us. You know, we are not taking the courage. We are not coming out from the distractions and comfort zone. You know, there are struggles. We have to justify our environment. We have to justify our parents. If you are justifying your parents, you will be justifying your investors, customers, the world. So women should come out from the comfort zone and they have to justify. All the time I'm hearing the word women entrepreneurs, women are struggling. We have lots of opportunities as a grant. And I have been in the hall. I was the only woman. I was delivering a talk and there were complete male members, but I did not feel any difference. So the world is changing, but we have to come out from the comfort zone. It's in our hand. Government has done its responsibility. Parents are supporting. Even bootstrapping, we can get better opportunity than male. And struggles are common. Everybody is struggling. You know, he has been Mr. Mohan has come up with 7 back-to-back failures. Failures are far more challenging than being a woman. So it is not a difference. It's a kind of common field. We have to struggle. So it's in our hand. I wanted to register this. Sorry if I'm hurting. Thank you so much.
I think we are on same page. That's precisely what I was also trying to convey, that the challenges and barriers that women face are mostly cultural and societal. And when we try to overcome that, definitely that requires something called policy support as well as equitable ecosystem. So I think we are on same page, and I'm glad to know that you are not facing much of barriers, which is a good thing.
No, we are facing barriers. Yeah. We are facing barriers, but if I apply loan, I can get loan easily because I'm a woman, I will not cheat.
Definitely.
That kind of confidence is there.
100%. In fact, to add on to that, in fact, globally, if you look at it, women who take loans, or rather women are generally the highest, what do you call, if somebody gives loan, women are the best repayers. So, I mean, in globally, that is the statistics. So women are better entrepreneurs, if you ask me in that way.
Yes.
So we are on same page. I mean, I did not say
Yes,
anything.
but we are not competing. It's in our hand. So that
Right.
I wanted to register.
Yeah. It might be very different if you are starting in Bihar or some other state, and in some other parts of the world as well. Considering there are
But
different
if you want to
contexts.
justify, you
Take it
can
off.
justify the
No, no,
word.
but thank you so much. It's actually very nice to hear that you feel that there are not much
Challenges,
for you.
No, she says that there is challenge.
There is, but yeah.
challenge, but it is in the hands of the women to actually take up that responsibility and overcome it. That's what you are trying to say.
Yeah, you can
Take it offline, yeah, please.
We are out of time. Can we take one more question? If you guys, what organizers?
No,
what do you
we'll
guys-
finish the round with the recommendations, yeah, please.
Okay.
So,
I have a question.
No, we have run out of time, so.
Just one question, please.
Go ahead. Okay. Now.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the session. I work on a startup which is into social impact. So I just want to know from William or MVS, where people fondly call. I'm not familiar with him. So I just want to know, like, what are the investors look at if I'm doing social impact projects, primarily into rural empowerment, whatever these women are talking. Gender equality. We want more women in the workspace, more women as entrepreneurs. I believe I answered both of your debate. So yeah, so what is that?
Yeah, sure.
You
I
look
mean-
at, and would you invest in it or not? Thank
so
you
we,
so much.
we try and back the best founders.
Okay.
And we don't call ourselves an impact fund because it's actually pretty tough to measure, especially because we invest in so many companies. But people who invest in us,
It
they
can be
call us an
CSR.
impact fund. And other people who measure us, for example, TechCrunch named us the number 5 most active VC in female-led startups in the world. And it's not great, but we're about, according to them, 40% of our startups we backed are female-led. So it's on the one side, we have an advantage because we're not investing in the U.S., where it's much worse. Yeah. Actually, U.S. Leads in inequality in this particular area. And because we're quite active in India and Southeast Asia and even Africa, I think we have a much higher percentage. But on the impact side, we don't call ourselves a climate fund, but according to PitchBook, since 2017, we're the most active investor in decarb in the world in terms of number of companies. So again, for us, it's trying to help drive our objectives. First is economic independence. People leveraging tech to be able to make a better living so they can feed themselves, kids can go to school. And then the second thing is digitizing traditional industries from farming to manufacturing. And the last one is sustainability. Because if we've seen the economic revolution in India, almost 300 million people out of poverty, well, what happens after that is you end up destroying the environment. Because people who consume below the poverty line and just above the poverty line, not that much impact. But as soon as you get a bit more money, not you, but people, they start consuming a lot more. So we need to also invest in sustainability to make sure that as people come up, they're not destroying the environments that they live in. So it's a bit of a balance there, but that's our approach. But we try not to say that we are X fund, but we are not an impact fund, but we try and have a lot of impact.
Okay, so my name is
No,
Lakshmi.
we are run out of time.
No,
so
I'm not asking any question. Just I want to finish.
Could we take it off stage, because
Just one second.
Yes, as discussions on inclusivity are gaining more prominence here, we would like to inform you all that we have specifically designed an inclusive panel comprising men, women, transgender, differently able personalities for tomorrow's session to discuss more on inclusive startup ecosystem. So we will discuss more on tomorrow. Thank you for the wonderful panel.
But before we end, we would like to ask all the panelists to tell what would they like to advise or recommend startups quickly. If they have to talk to the you have to give an advice to the entrepreneurs here or to the policymakers, what would it be?
There is no advice from us to from my side to the entrepreneurs because they know what they are doing it. But only one thing from my side is looking at the startups and looking at the scenario that lots of money is chasing the ideas and ideas are chasing the money. Right? We find startups are looking only money as the criteria, and they think that money will decide their funding will decide their success, but it is the other way around, right? The proper mentoring and networking along with the funding helps us, and mentoring from people like MBS and others helps us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. This is something question I was waiting for, right? So the Tamil Nadu has most of the districts in Tamil Nadu been covered by startup because of these incubation centers which are available. That is one good thing. But the policy has to, from the government has to come to make sure that each district is flourish. We all have to go together.
I can see Naved raring to go. But my question to you is, why do companies like yours even want to collaborate with startups? What's in it for them? What's in it for you?
Yeah. No, I think what you said, MVS, is the same what I also said, that the perception normally is the other way around, right? So, again, coming to what Jashad asked, the play for a corporate in a startup ecosystem, right? That's something which maybe I'll try to develop on a little bit. Why do a corporate need startup, right? So when you talk about, and how many of you have worked or is working in startup here? Can you just raise your hand? Yeah. So if you look at the way corporate looks at innovation or product strategy, there is a structured way of doing things, right? You have a strategy there is a long-term roadmap. And typically, if you see the process, you have a internal R&D teams or research teams which kind of graduates into a business ideas and a business product solution and all that in a due course. So, I mean, that's a typical way in which a corporate do R&D and innovation. And this is a world which used to work. I mean, this is a model which used to work in the past, but it is not valid anymore. So if you come to the world of rapidly changing phase of technology and where there are disruptions which are happening every day, unless, like you said, like a gazelle, right? Unless you try to run like a gazelle, right, you cannot survive anymore. So this is something on one side. There is a need that you disrupt before you get disrupted. That's one part of it, but that's not the only thing, right? If you talk about the way in which the whole technology has evolved, it has come to a stage where it is not possible for one company alone to master the whole complexities of technology and then win in the market. It has come to a space wherein you really need to be open to collaborate with ecosystem partners, people who have capabilities in terms of assets, IP, or even solutions, and also mastered certain part of business, to work together and build on top of that. So this is another need which is, and especially if you look at very conservative domain like automotive where I work in, even those very conservative domains have completely changed because you no longer can run with maybe an IP which you had built some 10, 15 years back to continue successful. Talk about electrification, talk about connected vehicles, in all these spaces. So there is if you want to be successful, you have no other way but to collaborate. Now, typically, the older model was to build internally, right? Capability you build internally, take 2 to 5 years to solutionize, have an IP, all that. And that life cycle is not longer working, right? You will need probably 6 months to 1 year to really go to market. The Chinese speed in building automotive, right? So that's the life cycle which you have. That is where you can see a lot more openness to look at open innovation, because open innovation means that you are really worried about your IP, right? You are worried about how will you be successful long term. You should have the willingness and ability to take risk, calculated risk, of course. You, of course, protect part of your core business, but you still work with partners. again, the trust part you addressed before, right? When you work with a startup eye to eye, you probably then need to change your behavior. A big corporate does not know how to work with a new startup. So again, you have to build trust.
But tell me something, if any startup here wants to collaborate with you,
Right.
what should they do?
So that's where again we started working with TN startups since last 1 year. But in India, company as Bosch, we have been working with startup last 8 years. We started our startup in work DNA program, we call it. In Tamil Nadu, we started last year with TN startup, and here we are now in the journey of connecting with startups. On one side, discover, right? The discovery is the first step, wherein you look around, you consciously look for, search and find startup who either complementary to us, which means coming up with solutions or having assets or IP which is complementary to our business, which you can partner with. The second part would be that they are in the adjacency space where collaboration would mean that collectively you can win bigger things, right? So that's another space. So this is what we are currently doing, looking for startups, and then obviously there are multiple ways in which we can partner. We can do.
Sure. Dr. Chandra, you have been part of the Silicon Valley ecosystem for some time now. What are your learnings from there, especially when it comes to gender and inclusivity?
Oh, well, we hail Silicon Valley for a lot of things. Of course, it is the #1 startup ecosystem. However, whenever I attend any event there, I find women, especially women startups, still struggling, and they also face barriers and challenges. Even I think only around 3 to 5% of funding is being, women founders, female founders, they are able to raise only 3 to 5% of investment or funding, even in Silicon Valley. So that is one of the challenges there we face. However, if you look at the bright side of things, I would say Silicon Valley is a place where, of course, as MVS said, it is a combination of so many good things, like so many different things. Like we have the educational institution where Stanford, for example, has been the nurture bed of all kinds of creative things. And people from across the globe and different multiple cultural contexts are coming together at one place. And of course, along with that is the strong investor network. And most importantly, if you ask me what makes Silicon Valley more attractive, is definitely the mindset and the risk appetite. That's where, again, we have to come back to our society and our cultural barriers, our mindset barriers, where failing and risk-taking is considered as a bad thing. Talking about my own experience, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years right now. And when I started, even the word startup was not there in the ecosystem. And when I said to my family that I want to start a business, it was such a big problem in the family. And when I quit my corporate job and then I entered into trying to set up my own company, I failed several times. And finally, only very recently, even my own father and my family members started acknowledging that, yes, okay, she's an entrepreneur. So, this is a challenge that we face over here. Whereas if you look at Silicon Valley or similar places, even look at university where I've been part of, I find that every student who comes there, they come up with an idea itself in the first year. They work on it, they pilot it. By the 4th year, if nothing happens, they are they are okay with it. They try it out. So that kind of active trying, and they come with the idea that I'm going to fail, but I want to learn this, and this learning is my biggest thing. So that kind of a mindset is something which we have to also bring in our educational system, so that our students are ready to, not just students, again, we have to talk a little bit more about the societal expectations as well. And this is more prominent in the case of women, and that's why I keep talking about women.
Thank you so much. Any audience questions? We are running out of time. Yeah, can you get a mic to them, please?
Good evening. This is Subramanian. My question is to Mr. Narayan. The corporate connect startup comes, as Mr. Suresh Kumar lightly puts it, their only investment is their idea, is their, it may be a disruptive, it may be a new one, everything. When they come to a corporate, they have their own wealth, they have a deep pocket, everything. And these are a corporate and startup tie-up. Normally, you have your own procedure. You take a process is there. It takes a lot of time. And till the time, the entire idea of what startup is having is being discussed and deliberated upon with you. So what is the safety of the startups at the end of the day if you doesn't have any tie-up with that startup? What that safety is there for the startup idea?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and that's typically also the worry we hear when we connect with startup, right? So the program we talked about, which is DNA, Discover, Nurture, and Align, it in fact works with startups at different maturity phase, right? So when we work with startup, there are startups which are in the early stage or in the MVP stage, where even the ideas needs to be they need kind of validation support to validate those ideas. So there are different phases in which we work with startup. In the late stage, it could also be the GTM, go-to-market partnership, right? So so the need will be very different in these phases. But it all starts with building trust first of all, right? So which means that you're right, when you come to a corporate environment, the speed and the timelines do not probably match, right? So our startup engagement is not run by the whole corporate. There is a specific team which understands, and some of them have also worked in startup before, who have been founders who came back to corporate. So they understand the world quite well. And it's important to build trust, first of all, align the process in a way that it matches, and at the same time create transparency and trust, and also secure, for example, when it comes to IP. Secure IP in a way that it is a win-win for both, right? So there is defined process behind it, and the models are really dependent on the need of the startup at different phases where they are in. Some cases, it is just the domain knowledge what is required to come into a new space. Right, so we understand then the need and then work accordingly.
Yeah. So as investors, there's our customer is the startup, right? And startups generally want one thing: they want money. There's two types of money. There's revenue, which is not dilutive. You don't have to give up shares for revenue. Then there's investment, which is dilutive. So if at all costs, you don't want investment. Okay, you want revenue. And so for us as a service provider, we invest, but then we also try and help our companies with sales. Now, one of the challenges with startups going into corporates is communication, right? And also that matching. So for us, we have a 10-person enterprise sales team in our team, and all they do is they talk to our corporate partners all the time and just figure out what they want. In startup, you have problem and solution. Well, corporates don't have problems, right? So there's a linguistic issue. You have opportunities. Maybe you have a challenge, but usually it's just opportunities. And then you have to match. A lot of times, if a startup's just getting a product market fit, they're not actually ready to work with a corporate. You need to have something that's proven. At least you have a case study against it, even to get into pilot and POC. Right? So it's a bit of matching. So when we work with Pfizer, they said normally it would take a year between first conversation and close the deal. Now we closed them in 3 months, mostly because we're not trying to help the startup push in, but we're engaged with the corporate and pulling, right? So as a startup, if you're trying to sell into large corporates, you got to figure out how to play the system, because there is a system. It's not like a stack system. But there is a system. Figure out what they want. Don't try and sell something unless they're willing to buy it, or they want to buy it, or they have budget to buy it.
Startups has this concern, right, transferring the technology to the corporates. That is a missing link in the system, which I also make an appeal to the startup Tamil Nadu. Right, we are talking about incubation centers, but one particular component we are lagging behind at least by 1 decade. None of the higher education institutions has technology transfer offices in our country. And what next, if you ask us what next beyond incubation, right? Just before going to the research parks and things like that, we can also look at establishing TTOs, right, technology transfer offices, which will take care of the innovators' concern of transferring the technology. The startups come up with 2-3 technologies and they want to transfer, right? They can focus on one, remaining rest of the 2 can be transferred to the other industries. In the open innovation network, that's also called inward and outward, right? Corporates also, they have some R&Ds, right, which there's an outcome from the R&D efforts from the corporates, which is not in their business line, which they'll be ready to shed out, and the TTOs can play an important role. So for me, between the incubation centers and the research parks, right, and a formal setup can be thought of by the thought leaders of establishing technology transfer offices in the higher education institutions, which will help us to address this small gap.
Thank you, all the panel members. It was a quite informative session to me. Recently, I started my startup journey. Previously, I was working. I would like to take this opportunity to register what I'm experiencing. I'm sorry, Chandravadana, I'm going to oppose. It's a kind of opposition. It's a kind of equal opportunity to us. You know, we are not taking the courage. We are not coming out from the distractions and comfort zone. You know, there are struggles. We have to justify our environment. We have to justify our parents. If you are justifying your parents, you will be justifying your investors, customers, the world. So women should come out from the comfort zone and they have to justify. All the time I'm hearing the word women entrepreneurs, women are struggling. We have lots of opportunities as a grant. And I have been in the hall. I was the only woman. I was delivering a talk, and there were complete male members, but I did not feel any difference. So the world is changing, but we have to come out from the comfort zone. It's in our hand. Government has done its responsibility. Parents are supporting. Even bootstrapping, we can get better opportunity than male. And struggles are common. Everybody is struggling. You know, he has been Mr. Mohan has come up with 7 back-to-back failures. Failures are far more challenging than being a woman. So it is not a difference. It's a kind of common field. We have to struggle. So it's in our hand. I wanted to register this. Sorry if I'm hurting. Thank you so much.
I think we are on same page. That's precisely what I was also trying to convey, that the challenges and barriers that women face are mostly cultural and societal. And when we try to overcome that, definitely that requires something called policy support as well as equitable ecosystem. So I think we are on same page, and I'm glad to know that you are not facing much of barriers, which is a good thing.
No, we are facing barriers. Yeah. We are facing barriers, but if I apply loan, I can get loan easily,
that's
because I'm a woman, I will not cheat.
Definitely.
That kind of confidence is there.
100%. In fact, to add on to that, in fact, globally, if you look at it, women who take loans, or rather women are generally the highest, if somebody gives loan, women are the best repayers. So, I mean, in globally, that is the statistics. So women are better entrepreneurs, if you ask me in that way. Yes. So we are on same page. I mean, I did not say anything.
But we are not competing. It's in our hand. So that I wanted to register.
Yeah. It might be very different if you are starting in Bihar or some other state, and in some other parts of the world as well. Considering there are
but
different
if
context.
you want to justify, you can justify the
No, but thank you so much. It's actually very nice to hear that you feel that there are not much challenges for you.
No, she says that there is challenge. There is challenge, but it is in the hands of the women to actually take up that responsibility and overcome it. That's what you are trying to say.
Yeah, you can
take it offline, please.
Okay. We are out of time. Can we take one more question? If you guys, what organizers?
No, we'll finish the round with recommendations, please.
Okay.
So I have a question. Please.
No, we have run out of time, so
just one question, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the session. I work on a startup which is into social impact. So I just want to know from William or MVS, where people fondly call. I'm not familiar with him. So I just want to know, like, what are the investors look at if I'm doing social impact projects, primarily into rural empowerment, whatever these women are talking, gender equality. We want more women in the workspace, more women as entrepreneurs. I believe I answered both of your debate. So yeah, so what is that?
Yeah, sure.
You look at, and would you invest in it or not? Thank you so much.
We try and back the best founders.
Okay.
We don't call ourselves an impact fund because it's actually pretty tough to measure, especially because we invest in so many companies. But people who invest in us, they call us an impact fund. And other people who measure us, for example, TechCrunch named us the number 5 most active VC in female-led startups in the world. And it's not great, but we're about, according to them, 40% of our startups we backed are female-led. So it's on the one side, we have an advantage because we're not investing in the U.S., where it's much worse. Yeah. Actually, U.S. leads in inequality in this particular area. And because we're quite active in India and Southeast Asia and even Africa, I think we have a much higher percentage. But on the impact side, we don't call ourselves a climate fund, but according to PitchBook, since 2017, we're the most active investor in decarb in the world in terms of number of companies. So again, for us, it's trying to help drive our objectives. First is economic independence. People leveraging tech to be able to make a better living so they can feed themselves, kids can go to school. And then the second thing is digitizing traditional industries from farming to manufacturing. And the last one is sustainability. Because if we've seen the economic revolution in India, almost 300 million people out of poverty, well, what happens after that is you end up destroying the environment. Because people who consume below the poverty line and just above the poverty line, not that much impact. But as soon as you get a bit more money, not you, but people, they start consuming a lot more. So we need to also invest in sustainability to make sure that as people come up, they're not destroying the environments that they live in. So it's a bit of a balance there, but that's our approach. But we try not to say that we are X fund, but we are not an impact fund, but we try and have a lot of impact.
Okay, so my name is.
We are run out of time.
No, I'm not asking any question. Just I want to finish.
Could we take it off stage, because
just one second.
Yes, as discussions on inclusivity are gaining more prominence here, we would like to inform you all that we have specifically designed an inclusive panel comprising men, women, transgender, differently able personalities for tomorrow's session to discuss more on inclusive startup ecosystem. So we will discuss more on tomorrow. Thank you for the wonderful panel.
But before we end, we would like to ask all the panelists to tell what would they like to advise or recommend startups quickly. If they have to talk to if you have to give an advice to the entrepreneurs here or to the policymakers, what would it be?
There is no advice from us from my side to the entrepreneurs because they know what they are doing it. But only one thing from my side is looking at the startups and looking at the scenario that lots of money is chasing the ideas and ideas are chasing the money. Right? We find startups are looking only money as the criteria and they think that money will decide their funding will decide their success, but it is the other way around. Right? The proper mentoring and networking along with the funding helps us, and mentoring from people like MBS and others helps us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. This is something question I was waiting for, right? So the Tamil Nadu has most of the districts in Tamil Nadu been covered by startup because of these incubation centers which are available. That is one good thing. But the policy from the government has to come to make sure that each district is conducive for the youngsters to stay there and run their own businesses. It may include many things, but the state has to decide which are the districts they want to take for the next couple of years to make sure that grows. Though Tansim has actually have the regional offices across, to make sure that it is promoted, but the policy also has to back, the district has to develop for the culturally for the youngsters to stay and then work there. The second thing is that the institutions, they have many IPs, but many of the professors does not get involved in the startups. The IP should be the IP which can generate business out of it. For example, I know a professor, many professors in IIT, now after 15 years, there are professors who have 25 IPs. Now their 4 IPs are in the productive stage where there is startup. So that is one of the key thing for innovation and the startup to grow across the state. The last but not least is the companies, the pivot companies which are there in Tamil Nadu. Every 100 kilometers you have different business sectors like Suresh was talking about. But these pivot companies should start encouraging these startups. They should have incubation centers inside them. That will help for the startups to promote there. This is the first inclusivity. Jim has made us startup ecosystem as inclusive. Thank to Shivaraja for making sure that we are also present here. But this is a starting point, and we have to tell the companies which are coming in, we also have to promote that. You also have to promote this incubation inside their own, so that we can also state, at least in a soft manner, these many startups has to be supported when you establish in Tamil Nadu.
So quickly, so it's great to be here at Global Investors Meet. As one of I think the only international investor in the top 20 most active VCs in India, one of the biggest challenges we have is that foreign investors are taxed double for investing in India. So it's one of the only countries in the world, this is not a Tamil Nadu problem, this is an India challenge, where the government taxes foreign investment twice, which is why most foreign investors stay away from India.
I have to give you one. Gift City. Gift City is now has come where you can invest through Gift City, you will not be taxed twice.
Yeah, maybe if
it was encouraged for me to answer if there is an issue, because this is a major issue. Now there is a solution for it. Just I have to.
Yeah, maybe two sentences on the previous question, right? So what we have been now connecting with TN startups since I think July last year, right? So one of the things which we see is that there are startups who really come with technology forward. So which means they are focused on a technology and they are very passionate about it and they want to take it. Now, you also need to have a fine balance between market backwards, so which means to really what problem are we going to solve, and then it's not just the solutioning, but also how to make it work in the market. So that the steps which you need to make it successful, there is a lot of work that is required. And here, when you have this conversation, we understand there is often, I think that's where maybe the ecosystem what we are building in Tamil Nadu is helpful, wherein you will need to have network, a large network of diverse network wherein startup can tap into. And that's something which I feel will be better in the next years with what you have done in the last couple of years. And I think that's extremely important. And I'm sure that with that, you will see a lot of startups which are scaling and globally active. Yeah.
Dr. Chandra.
Last point, I mean, covered everything. To make things better, I think we need more role models. We already have so many poster boys of successful startups. I think when we see more people successful, more success comes. That's how it happens. So we need more role models from all segments, not just women or transgenders or all kinds of. So that is one. And second is policy. I hope already Tamil Nadu has a great policy supporting startups and especially inclusivity. I'm glad to hear that. However, one example I would like to cite is that of Swedish Innovation Agency, where there's a mandate that we are talking about funding, right? So yeah, there's a mandate that they'll fund companies or startups where there is at least one women co-founder. Imagine. So that is one way. This is the concept of bringing in equity. So it is not reservation. This is all about nurturing equity. So there are these kinds of best practices from across the globe could be adopted in in Tamil Nadu or in
No,
generally
we
in India,
have
etc.
in Tamil Nadu we have an inclusive fund
Yeah.
called SCST fund.
Yeah, that
which
is
is
wonderful.
one of
In
the,
fact, that is something which I saw from Shiraja's.
And this is the first in India.
Yes, it is the first. That's brilliant. That is the difference. I mean, that is something what we call as equity, pro-equity measures, and that's brilliant. Right.
On that note, we've completely run out of time.
Yes.
And we could have easily gone for another half an hour, but we have such a. Thanks for being such a kick-ass panel. And